The giant screen on the bridge of the Zendari command ship showed a blue-green planet. Admiral Krez stared at it with his 4 eyes, mandibles clicking with excitement. "So this is Earth," he said. His gray skin wrinkled as he leaned forward. "The 3rd planet of this unremarkable star system." "Yes, Admiral," said Science Officer Vex. She tapped on her control panel with long, thin fingers. "Our scans show they still use fossil fuels. They have only basic space travel capabilities. They have not even colonized their own moon." Admiral Krez made a noise that in Zendari culture meant amusement. "Primitives. And their population?" "Nearly 8 billion, Vex replied. "Excellent. Their planet has good resources. They will make fine workers for the Federation." In the dark emptiness of space, 5 massive ships moved toward Earth. The Zendari Federation had conquered 12 other worlds. Earth would be the 13th. "Should we follow first contact protocols, Admiral?" asked Commander Veltz. Krez waved a dismissive hand. "No need. These humans are too primitive. They will surrender quickly when they see our power. Prepare the landing forces." In Houston, Dr. Samantha Wright yawned as she stared at her computer screen. The night shift at NASA's Space Monitoring Station was usually boring, but tonight was different. Strange signals kept appearing on her screen. "Hey, Ben, take a look at this," she called to her colleague. Ben rolled his chair over. "What am I looking at?" "These energy readings. They're not natural. They're moving, in formation." Ben laughed. "Sam, you've been watching too many sci-fi movies. It's probably just satellite debris." "Satellites don't move like this," she insisted. "And the energy output is massive." "Your equipment needs recalibrating," Ben said, rolling back to his desk. "Take a break." Sam frowned at her screen. Something was coming. She could feel it. In Chicago, Joe Martinez graded papers at his kitchen table. Red pen marks covered the essays from his high school history class. "The Civil War was not about dinosaurs, Kyle," he muttered, circling a paragraph with his pen. Joe had been teaching American history for 15 years. Before that, he had served in the Army for 10 years. He understood conflict better than most. His phone buzzed. It was a text from his sister Ellen. "Turn on the news." Joe grabbed the remote and turned on his TV. The news showed panicked reporters and blurry images of something huge in the sky. "We interrupt this program for breaking news. Unidentified objects have been spotted in Earth's orbit. Government officials have not yet commented, but amateur videos show what appear to be massive spacecraft." Joe's military training kicked in. He immediately went to his basement where he kept emergency supplies. If this was real, things might get bad fast. At the United Nations in New York, emergency bells rang. Diplomats rushed into the General Assembly Hall. On the giant screen, satellite images showed 5 enormous ships entering Earth's orbit. "Ladies and gentlemen," said the Secretary General, his voice shaking, "it appears we are not alone in the universe, and our visitors have not announced themselves peacefully." The room erupted in chaos. Back on the Zendari command ship, Admiral Krez watched as Earth's primitive satellites tried to scan his vessels. "How amusing," he said. "Begin broadcasting the surrender message in their major languages." Communications. Officer Trill pressed several buttons. "Broadcasting now, Admiral." The message was simple. "People of Earth, you are now under the protection of the Zendari Federation. Your resources and labor belong to us. Resistance is futile and will be met with force. Your civilization is primitive. You cannot hope to oppose us. Surrender, and you will be treated fairly." Admiral Krez settled back in his command chair. "Have the landing crafts prepare for deployment. Target their major cities first: Washington, Beijing, Moscow, London. Show them our power immediately." "Yes, Admiral," said Commander Veltz. "The invasion force is ready." Krez looked at the beautiful, blue planet. Another easy conquest for his record. His superiors would be pleased. "Begin the invasion," he ordered. "This will be over by their next sunrise." Little did Admiral Krez know, but the Zendari Federation had just made the biggest mistake in their 5,000-year history of conquest. They had found humans. The sky over Washington, D.C. darkened as 3 massive Zendari ships hovered above the White House. People ran through the streets in panic. Car alarms blared. Police tried to maintain order, but they were overwhelmed. From the ships, smaller craft descended. They were sleek and silver, making a high-pitched whine as they cut through the air. When they landed, doors slid open and Zendari, soldiers marched out. They stood 7 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms, each holding a different weapon. Surrender immediately, their leader announced through a translator device. Resistance is pointless. The response was immediate. National Guard troops opened fire. Police officers joined in. Even some civilians pulled out guns. The alien commander, Lieutenant Grex, was shocked. According to their briefing, humans would be too frightened to fight back. But bullets pinged off his armor as he ducked behind his landing craft. "Return fire," he ordered. "Subdue these primitives." The Zendari fired their energy weapons. Buildings crumbled. Cars exploded. But the humans did not run. They took cover and kept fighting. In the Potomac Naval Hospital, Nurse Lisa Powell heard the explosions. The emergency room was already filling with injured people. "Get more beds ready," shouted Dr. Garcia. "We're going to have a lot more coming in." Lisa rushed to prepare supplies. Through the windows, she could see smoke rising over the city. Her hands shook, but she kept working. "We need all medical personnel to stay calm," Dr. Garcia announced. "This is what we've trained for." "We trained for an alien invasion?" someone asked. "We trained for mass casualties," Dr. Garcia replied. "It doesn't matter if it's a bus crash or aliens, our job is the same." Lisa nodded and grabbed more bandages. She had a job to do. Out in the Atlantic Ocean, Captain Daniel Freeman stood on the bridge of the USS Constitution. The aircraft carrier was racing back to defend the East Coast. "Radar shows objects in orbit, Captain," said his executive officer. "Have they targeted us?" Freeman asked. "Negative, sir. They seem focused on major cities." Freeman nodded. "Launch reconnaissance aircraft. I want to know what we're dealing with." "Sir, we're getting orders from Fleet Command. All naval vessels are to form a defensive line." "Tell the pilots to be careful," Freeman said. "We don't know what these aliens can do yet." Freeman had been in the Navy for 20 years. He had seen combat in many places, but this was different. This was a fight for the whole planet. In Chicago, Joe Martinez watched the news in horror. The alien ships were attacking major cities around the world. The president had declared a state of emergency. Joe's phone rang. It was his old Army commander, Colonel Phillips. "Martinez, we're activating everyone with combat experience. Can you get to the National Guard Armory?" "Yes, sir," Joe replied without hesitation. "What's the plan?" "Plan? We're making it up as we go. These things are hitting us hard, but they don't seem to understand urban warfare. They're fighting like it's an open field." Joe grabbed his go bag and his old military ID. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Back in space, Admiral Krez was getting disturbing reports. The humans were not surrendering as expected. They were fighting back with surprising effectiveness. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Their weapons are primitive." Commander Veltz looked worried. "They are using simple projectile weapons, but they are using them well, and there are many of them. Our intelligence said they would be too afraid to resist." "The intelligence was wrong, Admiral. These humans seem to have no fear." Krez slammed his fist on his command chair. "Send in more troops. Use the heavy weapons. Show them what real power is." Veltz hesitated. "Admiral, perhaps we should research these humans more carefully before—" "No!" Krez shouted. "I will not be embarrassed by primitives. Double the invasion force. Crush their resistance now." Veltz nodded and gave the orders, but doubt showed in his 4 eyes. Something was very wrong about this invasion. The humans were not behaving like any species they had conquered before. In Washington, Lieutenant Grex watched in disbelief as his soldiers were forced to retreat from a group of humans using simple guns and improvised explosives. "Fall back to the landing craft," he ordered. As they retreated, one of his soldiers asked the question that was forming in all their minds. "Sir, what kind of planet did we just invade?" Grex had no answer, but he was beginning to think they had made a terrible mistake. The United Nations building in New York was packed with representatives from every country. The normal arguing and political games were gone. Everyone was focused on one thing: survival. General Laura Reyes stood at the podium. Her uniform was crisp. her face serious. Maps and images flashed on the screen behind her. The aliens have landed in 12 major cities, she said. They expected us to surrender immediately. They were wrong. The room was silent. No one spoke. No one needed to. We have reports from all continents, General Reyes continued. The invaders have superior technology, but they are making basic tactical errors. They don't understand our cities. They don't understand our weapons. Most importantly, they don't understand humans. A representative from India raised his hand. What are our chances, General? Better than the aliens think, she replied. We need to coordinate our efforts, share information, use our knowledge of Earth to our advantage. The general's plan was simple but effective. Each country would fight in their own way, but they would share what worked and what didn't. The aliens would face not one enemy, but hundreds of different fighting styles. At NASA in Houston, Dr. Samantha Wright was analyzing alien communications. She hadn't slept in 2 days. Look at this pattern, she said to her team. Their signals use a predictable sequence. Ben leaned over her shoulder. You're right. It's too perfect. Exactly, Sam said. No randomness. No protection against interference. Another scientist, Dr. Patel, nodded in excitement. We could disrupt their communications. Sam smiled for the first time since the invasion began. Not just disrupt. We could send false orders. Make them fight each other. The team got to work. They didn't have the aliens' advanced technology, but they had something better. Human creativity. In Chicago, Joe Martinez led a group of 20 volunteers. Some were former military like him. Others were just regular people. Teachers, construction workers, bus drivers. The aliens are moving down Michigan Avenue, Joe said, pointing at a map. They move in straight lines. They don't check buildings. They don't secure their position. They've never fought in a city before, said Karen, a police officer. Joe nodded. And they've never fought humans before. We'll use that. Their plan was simple. They would not attack the aliens directly. Instead, they would set traps. Create confusion. Make noise in one area while attacking from another. Remember, Joe told his group, we've been fighting wars for thousands of years. These aliens think they're superior, but they don't know our history. They don't know what humans are capable of. On the Zendari command ship, Admiral Krez was furious. The invasion was not going as planned. The humans were fighting back effectively. How? Can they resist us? He demanded. Their technology is primitive. Commander Veltz handed him a report. We've analyzed their tactics. They're using something called guerrilla warfare. They strike quickly and then disappear. They know the terrain. They're adapting to our weapons already. Impossible. No species learns that quickly. This one does, Veltz said quietly. And there's more. We've discovered something disturbing about human history. Krez took the report and read it. His 4 eyes widened in shock. This can't be right, he whispered. It says humans have been at war with each other continuously for thousands of years. They have fought more than 15,000 wars among themselves. The report is accurate, Admiral. While we were developing space travel, they were perfecting the art of war. Krez sat heavily in his command chair. We invaded a planet of warriors. Captain Freeman's aircraft carrier group was now in position, off the East Coast. Fighter jets launched from the deck heading toward the alien ships hovering over New York. Target their smaller craft first, Freeman ordered. Let's see how they handle our missiles. The jets streaked across the sky. The aliens didn't seem to expect an attack from this direction. The first wave of missiles hit their targets. 3 alien shuttles exploded in midair. They don't have good radar, an officer reported. They're not detecting our aircraft until it's too late. Freeman allowed himself a small smile. Keep pressing the attack, don't give them time to adapt. In the Potomac Hospital, Lisa Powell was treating a wounded alien. The creature had been captured after its shuttle crashed. It stared at her with 4 frightened eyes. It's okay, she said softly. I'm not going to hurt you. The alien seemed confused by her kindness. It had been told humans were savage primitives. But this human was helping it even though they were enemies. As Lisa worked, she realized something important. The aliens didn't understand humans at all. And that was going to be their biggest mistake. Lieutenant Zern never expected to be captured. He was a Zendari warrior from a long line of conquerors. Yet here he was, sitting in a human holding cell. The door opened. A human female entered. She wore a uniform with stars on the shoulders. "I am General Laura Reyes," she said. "Can you understand me?" Zern nodded. His translator device still worked. "Why did you attack us?" she asked. Zern blinked all four eyes. "Because you are primitive. Your planet has resources we need." "Did you research humans before invading?" "There was no need. Your technology is basic. You still use fossil fuels." General Reyes placed a tablet on the table. It showed videos of human history, ancient battles, modern wars, Olympic sports, extreme stunts. "Watch," she said. Zern watched humans fighting with swords, with guns, with bare hands. He saw them jumping from great heights for fun. He saw them racing vehicles at deadly speeds. He saw them climbing frozen mountains without safety equipment. "These can't be real," he said. "Every video is real," said General Reyes. "This is who you decided to fight without researching first." Zern felt the first stirrings of real fear. "Admiral." Krez called an emergency meeting on the command ship. His officers gathered around the table, all looking worried. "Tell me everything you've learned about humans," Krez demanded. Commander Veltz activated a holographic display. "Humans have been waging war throughout their entire history. They have developed thousands of different fighting styles and strategies. Even their entertainment involves combat." "How did we miss this?" Krez asked. "We focused only on their technology," said Science Officer Vex. "We didn't study their behavior or history." The display showed humans practicing something called mixed martial arts. "They fight for sport?" Krez asked in disbelief. "Yes, Admiral. And there's more. Their planet has over 200 independent nations, each with their own military. They don't have a single fighting style, but thousands of different approaches." Krez rubbed his head. "No wonder our standard tactics aren't working." In the hospital, Lisa Powell changed the bandage on the wounded alien's arm. His name was Trill, a communications officer whose shuttle had crashed. "Why are you helping me?" Trill asked. "We came to conquer your world." Lisa continued her work carefully. "Because that's what doctors and nurses do. We help the wounded no matter who they are. Our briefing said humans were primitive and violent." Lisa smiled slightly. "We can be violent when we need to be, but we can also be kind. That's something your briefings missed." Trill watched her work with all four eyes. "Your medical techniques are different from ours, but effective. Maybe we could learn from each other," Lisa suggested. The alien was quiet for a moment. "Perhaps, if there is anything left to learn after this war." Joe Martinez and his group moved silently through the ruins of downtown Chicago. The aliens had set up a command post in Millennium Park. "Remember the plan," Joe whispered. "We're not trying to kill them all. We just need to create confusion and capture their communications equipment." Karen, the police officer, nodded. "Ready when you are." Joe had studied military history for years. He knew that superior technology didn't always win wars. Sometimes knowing the terrain and being more determined made all the difference. They split into 3 teams. One team set off explosions to the north. Another created a distraction to the east. Joe's team approached from the south, where the aliens had fewer guards. The plan worked perfectly. While the aliens responded to the distractions, Joe's team slipped into their command post. They captured valuable equipment and a Zendari officer before disappearing back into the city. At NASA, Dr. Samantha Wright made a breakthrough. Her team had been working on disrupting alien communications. "We've cracked their code," she announced. "We can now intercept and understand all their transmissions." Ben grinned. "That's not all. Watch this." He typed a command, and suddenly the alien ships over Houston started moving in different directions, nearly colliding with each other. "We can send them false orders," Sam realized. "How did you do that?" "Their communication security is a joke," Ben explained. They never expected to meet a species that could challenge them technologically. They have no encryption we can't break. Sam looked at the confused alien ships with satisfaction. They thought we were primitive because we still use fossil fuels. They never considered that maybe we focused our development in different areas, like computer security, Ben added. And hacking. And warfare, Sam said quietly. They picked the wrong planet to invade. On the command ship, a junior officer approached Admiral Krez nervously. Admiral, we've detected humans attempting to reverse engineer our weapons. How long will it take them? Krez asked. Based on their progress so far. Days, not weeks. Krez stared at the officer in shock. Days? That's impossible. It took us C. Captain Daniel Freeman stood on the bridge of the USS Constitution. Ahead of them, a huge alien ship hovered over the Atlantic Ocean. All weapons systems ready, Captain, reported his weapons officer. Freeman nodded. And the new modifications? In place, sir. We've adapted the alien technology we captured. Our missiles now have the same energy signature as their weapons. This was the moment Freeman had been waiting for. The alien ships had strong shields, but NASA scientists had discovered something interesting. The shields let through the aliens' own weapons. It was a safety feature so they wouldn't shoot themselves. Target their main engines, Freeman ordered. Fire when ready. The aircraft carrier launched its modified missiles. They streaked toward the alien ship. The shields did not stop them. The explosions rocked the massive vessel. Direct hit, shouted the weapons officer. Freeman watched as the alien ship listed. To one side, smoke poured from its engines. Launch the fighters, keep the pressure on them. Dozens of jets took off from the carrier's deck. They swarmed around the damaged alien ship like angry bees. At NASA, Dr. Samantha Wright and her team monitored the battle. They had connected to the alien communication network and were causing chaos. Send false retreat orders to their fighters, Sam instructed. Ben typed rapidly on his keyboard. Done. Half their defensive craft are returning to their ship. Dr. Patel looked up from her station. I've got something big. The aliens are calling. For reinforcements, more ships are coming. Sam frowned. How many? 10 more. Much bigger than the first group. The team fell silent. They had been making progress, but 10 more ships might be too many. Then Sam smiled. Actually, this might be good news. How is that good news? Ben asked. Because now we know exactly when and where they'll arrive, Sam said, and we'll be ready for them. In a basement in Chicago, programmer Alex Kim hunched over a laptop. Joe. Martinez stood behind him watching as strange symbols flashed across the screen. Can you really hack their systems? Joe asked. Alex nodded without looking up. Their computer security is a joke. They use perfect mathematical patterns, no randomness. It's like they never considered someone might try to break in. Joe had met Alex during the fighting. The young programmer had no combat training, but his skills were proving just as valuable as any weapon. Got it, Alex said suddenly. I'm in their navigation system. What can you do with that? Alex grinned. Watch this. On the screen, a map showed 5 alien shuttles flying over the city. Alex typed a command and the shuttles suddenly changed course, flying away from their targets. I can't control them completely, Alex explained, but I can confuse their guidance systems, make them see obstacles that aren't there. Joe looked at the programmer with new respect. The aliens thought our technology was primitive. Different doesn't mean primitive, Alex said. They focused on space travel and energy weapons. We focused on computers and code breaking. On the Zendari command ship, Admiral Krez listened in horror as reports came in from all over Earth. Ground forces in London have surrendered, reported an officer. Humans have captured 3 of our shuttles in Beijing, said another. The New York attack force is cut off. No communication. Krez slammed his fist down. How is this happening? They're just primitives. Commander Veltz cleared his throat. Sir, I've been analyzing human internet data. They have something called encryption. Their computer security is actually more advanced than ours. That's impossible. It's true, Admiral. They've been fighting computer wars among themselves for decades. They call it cyber warfare. Their systems are designed to resist attacks from other humans who think like they do. Our logical patterns are easy for them to break. Before Krez could respond, the ship rocked violently. "We're under attack," shouted an officer. "Human vessels approaching. They've modified their weapons to bypass our shields." Krez steadied himself against his command chair. "Return fire. Launch all fighters." But when the order went out, the fighters didn't respond. Their communications were being jammed or intercepted. For the first time in his career, Admiral Krez wrote a message he never thought he would send. Request immediate reinforcements. Situation critical. Humans more dangerous than assessed. In Washington, D.C., General Laura Reyes received the news with grim satisfaction. "The Miami alien force has surrendered," her aide reported, "and our team has successfully hacked the alien ship over Chicago." Reyes nodded. "Tell all forces to continue the offensive. We've got them on the run now." The general looked at a map showing the positions of alien and human forces around the world. The blue human markers were pushing back the red alien ones everywhere. "They thought we would be easy to conquer," she said quietly. "They should have done their homework." Lieutenant Zern sat in a room with 5 humans. It was not a prison cell anymore, but what they called a conference room. He still couldn't believe the change in his status. Just days ago he was an enemy combatant. Now they called him a cultural advisor. Joe Martinez spread out maps on the table. "We need to understand how your people think," he said to Zern. "Your military strategy doesn't make sense to us." Zern blinked all 4 eyes in what humans now recognized as confusion. "What do you mean? Our strategies are based on perfect mathematical models." "That's the problem," said General Reyes. "War isn't math, it's chaos, it's psychology, it's will." Zern had never thought of war that way. The Zendari were taught that conflict was a science. You calculated the correct moves and you won. But humans didn't follow the calculations. "Your people have been fighting each other for thousands of years," Zern said slowly. "You've learned to expect the unexpected." Joe nodded. "We had to. Every time someone invented a new weapon or tactic, someone else found a way to counter it." Zern looked at the battle maps. "That's why you're winning. You're not fighting the way we expected. We're winning because your leaders made a huge mistake," General Reyes said. "They didn't research us before attacking." Zern couldn't argue with that. The Zendari had made a terrible error in judgment. In the hospital, Lisa Powell worked alongside a Zendari medic named Valine. They had developed a system combining human medical practices with alien technology. "Your pain medications are fascinating," Valine said as they treated a wounded soldier. "We never developed them because our species feels pain differently." Lisa carefully applied a bandage. "And your tissue regeneration technology is amazing. Together we can help patients recover in half the time." A human doctor walked past and nodded approvingly. What had started as Lisa treating a single alien prisoner had grown into an unofficial medical exchange program. Now, wounded from both sides received better care. "In my training," Valine said quietly, "they taught us that primitive species couldn't teach us anything valuable. They were wrong." Lisa smiled. "Everyone has something to teach if you're willing to learn." Dr. Samantha Wright stood with her team at NASA, watching a large screen that tracked the incoming alien reinforcements. "They'll be here in 6 hours," she said. "Are we ready?" Ben nodded. "The virus is prepared. As soon as they connect to the existing Zendari network, it will upload to their systems." "And the modified satellites?" Sam asked. "In position," Dr. Patel confirmed. "They'll broadcast our signal directly to the new ships." Their plan was daring. Instead of trying to fight the new alien ships directly, they would use the existing communication network to infect them with a computer virus. The virus wouldn't destroy the ships, but it would lock their weapon systems. "Do you think it will work?" Ben asked. Sam shrugged. The Zendari never developed good computer security. They never needed to. Their technology was always so far ahead of anyone they conquered. "Until now," said Dr. Patel with a small smile. "Until they met humans," Sam agreed. On the command ship, Admiral Krez received a communication from the Zendari High Command. The stern face of Grand Admiral Zex filled the screen. "Explain this disaster," Zex demanded. Krez lowered his head. "The humans are not what we thought. They adapt quickly. They fight in ways we don't understand. Your failure is unacceptable. I am coming personally with the reinforcement fleet. When I arrive, you will be relieved of command." The screen went dark. Krez slumped in his chair. His career was over. Commander Veltz approached cautiously. "Admiral, the humans are requesting to speak with you." "What do they want?" "They're offering terms, sir. Not surrender terms. They want to talk." Krez looked up in surprise. "Talk? After we invaded their planet?" "Yes, sir. They say they're willing to discuss a peaceful resolution." Krez couldn't understand these humans. By Zendari standards, the humans should continue fighting until they destroyed every invader. That's what the Zendari would do. "Put them through," he said finally. The face of General Reyes appeared on the screen. Beside her stood the human Joe Martinez, and, to Krez's shock, Lieutenant Zern. "Admiral Krez," said General Reyes. "We understand. Your reinforcements are coming. Before more lives are lost on both sides, we should talk." Krez stared at the human. "You're winning. Why would you want to talk?" Joe Martinez smiled slightly. "Because that's another thing you didn't learn about. Humans before invading. Sometimes we choose peace over victory." The United Nations building in New York had never hosted visitors from another planet before. Yet today, Admiral Krez sat across the table from a team of human negotiators. Lieutenant Zern stood nearby as a translator, though most of the aliens now used human language devices. Joe Martinez watched the proceedings with amazement. Just a week ago, he had been a history teacher. Now he was part of humanity's first diplomatic team meeting with aliens. "We propose a complete withdrawal of all Zendari forces," said General Reyes. "In exchange, we will share certain technological advances with your people." Admiral Krez looked confused. "You would share technology with us? After we invaded you, Doctor?" Samantha Wright, also part of the human team, nodded. "We believe in learning from our encounters, even difficult ones. Your space travel technology is impressive. We have other advances that might interest you." Krez blinked all four eyes. "What could you possibly have that would interest us?" Alex Kim, who had been quietly sitting at the end of the table, spoke up. "Computer security, for one thing. Your systems are vulnerable. We could help with that." The Admiral stared at the young programmer. "You hacked our warships." "In less than a day," Alex confirmed. "No offense, but your security is terrible." And Aide whispered something to Krez. The Admiral's expression changed to one of alarm. "Excuse me," he said, rising quickly. "I must contact my ship." As he left, Joe turned to General Reyes. "What just happened?" General Reyes smiled slightly. "The reinforcement fleet just arrived in Earth orbit, and I believe they're discovering our little surprise." In space, Grand Admiral Zex watched in horror as his mighty fleet of 10 warships suddenly lost power to their weapon systems. Emergency lights flashed across the command deck. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Some kind of virus, Grand Admiral," said his chief engineer. "It invaded our systems as soon as we connected to the local network. All combat functions are locked." "How is this possible? These are primitive humans." The engineer looked embarrassed. "Their computer coding is different from ours, more complex, more random. We never developed defenses against this type of attack." Zex slammed his fist down. Krez was right. We completely misunderstood these humans. A communications officer looked up from his station. "Grand Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. They're welcoming us and inviting us to join the peace talks." Zex stared at the blue planet below. He had come to conquer. Instead, his mighty fleet had been disabled without firing a shot. "Accept the invitation," he said quietly. "We need to learn more about these humans." Lisa Powell stood in the new joint medical center that had been set up in Washington, D.C. Human and Zendari doctors worked side by side, treating patients from both species. Valine, the Zendari medic, approached her with excitement. "Lisa, we've adapted our tissue regenerator to work on human physiology. Look, She demonstrated the device on a wounded soldier. The deep cut on his arm began to heal visibly. "That's amazing," Lisa said. "And we've found that our pain medications can be modified. For your people too?" Valine made a gesture that Lisa now recognized as the Zendari equivalent of a smile. "We have so much to learn from each other." "That's usually how it works," Lisa replied. "When people meet openly, both sides gain." Back at the United Nations, Grand Admiral Zex had joined the talks. His initial anger had given way to reluctant respect. "You could have destroyed our ships when we arrived," he said to General Reyes. "Why didn't you?" "Because that's not our goal," she answered. "We don't want to destroy you. We just want you to leave our planet in peace." Joe Martinez added, "Throughout human history, we've learned that total victory often leads to future conflicts. But mutual respect can lead to lasting peace." Zex turned to Admiral Krez. "You were correct about these humans. They are not what we thought." Krez nodded. "They fight like no species we've ever encountered, but they also show mercy like no species we've ever encountered." Dr. Wright leaned forward. "What we'd really like is to learn from each other. Your space technology, our computer systems, your energy weapons, our medical techniques." Zex considered this. In all the long history of the Zendari Federation, they had never exchanged technology with the species they tried to conquer. They had never failed in a conquest before. "The Federation Council will need to approve any formal agreement," he said finally, "but I believe they will be interested in what humans have to offer." Joe looked around the table at both humans and aliens. History was being made here, and for once, it wasn't the history of war. It was the beginning of something new. "Next time," he said with a small smile. "Maybe just send a message first." 1 year after the failed invasion, Joe Martinez stood on the observation deck of the Zendari diplomatic station. Earth shone like a blue jewel below. He still couldn't believe he was in space. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" said Lieutenant Zern, now Ambassador Zern, as he joined Joe at the window. "Never gets old," Joe replied. "A year ago, I was grading history papers. Now I'm helping set up the first human embassy in space." Zern made the gesture that humans had learned was a Zendari smile. "And I was invading your planet. Life takes strange turns." The door opened, and Dr. Samantha Wright entered, carrying digital tablets. "The new communication system is working perfectly. Earth can now talk directly with any world in the Zendari Federation." Joe took one of the tablets. On the screen was the cover of his new book, "Dear Aliens, Next Time Google Humans Before Making a Mistake." It had become an overnight bestseller on Earth and surprisingly among the Zendari as well. "The Federation Council wants your book to be required reading for all our diplomatic and military academies," Zern said. "They call it the Martinez Principle now. Always research a species thoroughly before making contact." Joe laughed. "I'm just glad something good came out of the invasion." Sam nodded. "A lot of good, actually. The technology exchange has helped both our peoples." She was right. Earth had gained faster-than-light travel and advanced energy systems. The Zendari had received improved computer security and medical techniques. Both sides had benefited. In a hospital in Washington, D.C., Lisa Powell demonstrated a new medical device to a group of alien and human doctors. It combined Zendari tissue regeneration with human pain management. The patient feels almost no discomfort, while the healing process is accelerated by 300%, she explained. Valine, now the chief Zendari medical officer for Earth Relations, added, "This technology would not exist if we had not worked together. Neither of our species had the full answer, alone." After the presentation, Lisa and Valine walked through the hospital garden. "The Federation has approved our Joint Medical Research Center," Valine said. "It will be the first of its kind, a place where doctors from all worlds can share knowledge." Lisa smiled. From enemies to colleagues in 1 year, who would have believed it? Captain Daniel Freeman stood on the bridge of a new ship. It wasn't the USS Constitution anymore. This vessel was called the Earthship Unity, the first human Zendari joint project. Half the crew was human, half Zendari. "All systems ready, Captain," reported his Zendari first officer. "Take us out nice and easy," Freeman ordered. "Let's see what she can do." The Unity moved smoothly out of Earth orbit. It was an exploration vessel, not a warship. Its mission was to discover new worlds, not conquer them. Freeman had never imagined commanding such a ship. The invasion had changed everything, opening the stars to humanity much sooner than anyone expected. In the Grand Hall of the Zendari Federation Council, Grand Admiral Zex addressed the assembled representatives of 200 worlds. "1 year ago, we made the greatest mistake in our history," he said. "We judged a species by their technology alone. We ignored their culture, their history, their spirit." On screens around the hall, images of Earth appeared, its cities, its people, its achievements. "Humans taught us a valuable lesson," Zex continued. "Different does not mean primitive. They focused their development in areas we neglected. While we perfected space travel, they mastered adaptation and innovation." He gestured, and a human delegation entered the hall. General Reyes led the group, followed by Alex Kim and other Earth representatives. "Today we welcome Earth as an associate member of the Zendari Federation," Zex announced. "Not as a conquered world, but as equals." The council chamber filled with the Zendari equivalent of applause. Back on the diplomatic station, Joe looked at his tablet. He had received a message from a history teacher who had taken over his classes back in Chicago. "Your students miss you," the message read, "but they're proud their teacher is making galactic history." Joe smiled. He did miss teaching, sometimes, but now he was helping write a new chapter in human history. Zern joined him again at the window. "A ship is approaching from the outer system. They're representatives from the Malorian Collective, another spacefaring species. They're very interested in meeting humans." "Let's hope they did their homework," Joe said with a grin. Zern held up a copy of Joe's book. "If not, we have the perfect welcome gift for them." As they watched the approaching ship, both human and alien knew the same truth. The universe had become a much more interesting place since humans joined the galactic community, and any aliens who underestimated them in the future would regret making the same mistake the Zendari had made. The real lesson wasn't just for aliens to research. Humans better. It was